Want some Iksar lore on Venril Sathir? And how about a dev interview on creating the zones of EverQuest? And we shine a spotlight on an EQ streamer. It's all on this episode of the EverQuest Show. Welcome into the EverQuest Show. I'm Fading. I'm very excited about a jam-packed episode. I've got Iksar lore about Venril Sathir. I'm also talking to some developers about creating the zones of EverQuest. But first, I'm going to practice my begging skill-ups for a moment. It takes a lot of work to make this passion project for EverQuest, and I don't monetize this channel, so if you want to support the channel, please click subscribe and set those notifications to all so you'll know when new episodes drop. And our weekly news updates of This Week in EverQuest is back. I've added a few incredible helpers, but I'm always looking for more help, so if you're a fan of the show, you want to help out, or maybe you just have some ideas for the show, please contact me by going to EverQuestShow.com. And I'm still looking for those EQ tats for an upcoming story. And if you want to showcase your guild right here on the show, you know where to go. It's EverQuestShow.com for more info. On this show, I try to give some behind-the-scenes details about how EverQuest and EverQuest 2 are made. I want you to check out this interview with developer Kevin Lydy about creating the zones of EverQuest. The zones of EverQuest are the foundation of the physical game, and one of the limitations of early EverQuest, and every video game really, is how to bring a huge 3D world to players with a huge range of computer specifications over an internet connection that may have limited bandwidth. Keep in mind, this was the late 90s when EverQuest was developed, so that 3D world has to be broken down into zones. The individual zones, often more accurately referred to as environments, are the play areas that are a delicate balance of gameplay, art, and system performance. During my last visit to Darkpaw Games, I sat down again with the lead environment artist for EverQuest, Kevin Lydy, to ask him about creating the zones of EverQuest. How many zones do you think you've worked on?
Somewhere between 50 and 60 is a guess. You know, one of the neat things about working on EverQuest is, you go through this cycle. And you may work on an environment for 4 or 5 months. I mean, there's a lot there. It's a lot of work.
Walk me through starting a new expansion, whatever that may be, to the end product. Like, walk me through the process of what happens.
Right. Well, no one of them is ever exactly alike, obviously. But generally, there's, a group of documents drafted by design that, encompasses, the entire expansion. We will go through and look at all the environments. We'll look at all the requirements that are there, and we build very simple versions first, functional versions. It's like, okay, well, is this going to be enough space for a raid?
And how do you physically build those?
They are physically built with geometry, very low-res, boxy, white boxy kind of stuff. It's super ugly, super just...
Are you physically moving
Yes.
plates around to...
It's basically just extruding boxes. Yeah, it's just a very, very simple representation. And it's just for, form and function. Is this enough space to do a raid in? Is this too long a walk? Are you going to get bored? Stuff like that. You determine all those kinds of things. And then once all of those decisions are made, then you start basically building in, usually with the terrain area first, and then into the POIs, and, everything just kind of builds up. It's a very organic, kind of Nautilus-shaped approach. We have it all on schedules as one long line, but it's really, it's doing this, They're very organic approaches. The dirty little secret of this, and it's like this pretty much in all games, is all the time spent with UVing, unwrapping. Like, for instance, an apple, the shape of an apple or an orange is pretty simple. It's a sphere, right?
Yeah.
Putting the skin on the orange is a little more complicated. So you figure we've got zones that, may have on order of 1 million faces. So that skin's got to sit right on 1 million faces.
Wow. The example you see here is from Shadow Valley. That's from the Terror of Luckland expansion. Kevin explained during a panel that I had a chance to host at Fippy Fest how he went about creating Shadow Valley.
Shadow Valley in particular has kind of a maze-like quality to it, so we see the path of that maze indicated by those purple lines. One thing to call attention to here is the evenness of what you see, all the faces, all the geometry. EverQuest engine is, it has all its muscles at the vertex level. So this is a case where, pardon the pun, face size matters. And so you see these nice, even faces because we will rely heavily on the real-time lighting in-game. And the more evenly spread those faces are where the vertices appear, the more even the lighting happens. So there's a great deal of care taken into, just how that geometry is constructed. There are 1.3 million faces in this zone, and 600 different elements. So we use instancing a lot because one of the overriding concerns, obviously, is always performance at data size. We could make super cool things that would run at 3 frames a second, and who would like that, right? One thing I wanted to call out here was one of the sort of signature features of Shadow Valley is the moving shadow on the ground plane. And this was accomplished by a real simple little decal system, which is a separate set of geometry that sits on top. What drives that shadow across the ground was initially intended for that waterfall in the background. So we see that rendering technology being used twice in 2 different ways.
What are the things that limit you getting it to that point versus in reality what you can do?
It's all things. All forces play against that. It's performance, it's footprint size. I mean, we struggle sometimes with zones that really aren't that big, that are too big to load on some lower end computers. So everything kind of gets dialed back to hoping to find a sweet spot for what our users have.
Kunark is arguably one of the best expansions in EverQuest, with its vast ruined continent and the arrival of the first new playable race, the Iksar. And the Iksar were fun to play. They were evil, cool-looking, and they had a rich history that just about surpasses anything in the game before and since. And if you spent any amount of time in Kunark, you got bits and pieces of that history. But no other Iksar was perhaps more important, more influential, and looked more dashing in a black robe than Venril Sathir. But who exactly is Venril Sathir? His story and the entire Sathir lineage shaped the entire Iksar civilization, the entire continent of Kunark, and the history of Norath. But to tell the story, we need a little background on the Iksar. The Iksar are intelligent lizard men, children of Khazak Thul with a tribal yet xenophobic culture, mostly owing to their turbulent history. The early Iksar on Kunark were slaves. They were servants of the Shisar. Now, ages ago on Kunark, the Shisar were the dominant race, creating cities and building a civilization. They were the masters of the Iksar slaves. The defining moment in Iksar history, though, and really the start of the Iksar timeline, is the Green Mist. This was a plague that was deadly to the Shisar that swept all across Kunark. Now, this is rumored to have been created by Khazak Thul himself as a punishment for the enslavement of his Iksar creations. So important is the Green Mist to Iksar civilization that it becomes year 0 of the Iksar calendar. The Green Mist forced the surviving Shisar to flee Norath, to resettle on the moon of Luckland, securing themselves within the Grey, a vacuum void of air that's to protect them against the Green Mist should it return. With the Green Mist killing all of their masters on Norath, the Iksar were liberated and began to establish tribes. There were 5 main tribes that began to thrive on Kunark, and their names should be familiar: the Obelis, Kailong, Nathzar, Jarsath, and Kunzar, all named for their tribal leaders, who could be found in the mines in Sracia Temple, spending on death as slave miners to the Shisar. Each of these tribes set about settling various parts of Kunark, even creating cities. Many Kunark cities were built by these Iksar tribes. During this time, Vexar, Charasis, that's also known as Howling Stones, Torsus, that's the city of mist, and Sebilis, and you can see artifacts of these tribal cities in the various Kylong, Nathsar, Obulus, Jarsath, and Kunzar armor and weapons that drop throughout Kunark. Then along came a powerful warrior named Venril Sathir. He was a member of the Kunzar tribe. Now, it is thought that using a book containing knowledge from Zabuxaruk, Venril Sathir implemented some advanced knowledge and magic to train the Kunzar tribe armies, to raise an army of the undead, and eventually conquer and unite the 5 tribes of the Iksar. The Iksar were then united as one imperial nation, led by Venril Sathir from their capital, the old Kunzar city of Sebilis. The Sebilisian Empire grew, taking control of most of Kunark under the power of Venril Sathir. They conquered the giants, the froglocks, and the goblins all throughout the continent. Torsus, Sebilis, and Shirasis all grew in power, and the Iksar flourished and began to set out across Norath. Over time, Venril Sathir began to grow older, and he sought a way to prolong his life, or gain immortality. And through many sacrifices, this time to Inaruk, he's given the knowledge of lichdom. In a ritual to gain that immortality, either for himself, or to find a way to restore his beloved Drusilla after her sudden death, he attempts a necromantic ritual. His soul is transferred into an amulet, which is to be placed into his corpse once Venril dies by suicide. The dark rites would be performed by the ritual priest, and Venril could arise an immortal undead king. But halfway through the ritual, a coup. Venril's first son, Venril Sathir, upset with his father's attempts at necromancy, interrupts the ceremony. Venril destroys the corpse of his father, and the ritual fails. The priest managed to rescue the amulet and whisk it away to the crypts of Chirasis, hoping to one day revive Venril's soul yet again. Venril Sathir assumes the throne of the Iksar Empire and focuses on building a navy for the Iksar to set out across the ocean and bring the Iksar to the rest of Norath. But there was a relatively new arrival to Kunark, and one that could provide a check to the Iksar power. The Ring of Scale, which had split from the Velius dragons of the Claws of Vishen, had recently moved to Kunark, creating Vishen's Peak in the Skyfire Mountains. And it wasn't long before the dragons realized the impending threat of the Iksar power, led by Venril Sathir. Within the Ring of Scale, there was a lot of discussion about what to do. Trakanon wanted some swift action, a preemptive strike to keep the Iksar in check, but the Ring of Scale, led by Jalad, decided that only indirect action would be taken. Defiantly, Trakanon took matters into his own hands, or his own claws. As the vast navy of the Iksar gathered, ready to lead an armada into the continent of Phaedor, Trakanon and some of the younger Ring of Scale dragons intervened. In a battle in the Timorous Deep, a great storm squall appeared. This was created by Trakanon and the allied younger dragons, and it destroyed the entire Sebilisian navy, including Venril's ship with him on board. The Ring of Scale is outraged by this defiant act, and thus begins an insurrection within the Ring of Scale dragons, pitting the younger, rebellious dragons, along with Trakanon, against the elder dragons. The elders succeed, and they punish Trakanon for his defiance, banishing him into a magical prison for 600 years. Meanwhile, the Iksar Empire, though set back by Venril's assassination and the destruction of their navy, continues to flourish under Venril's son, Venril Sathir. Venril follows in the footsteps of his grandfather, Venril, delving into the dark arts and experimenting on the creatures of Kunark. It was Venril who successfully melded a dragon with an Iksar and created the race of Sarnax, their sole purpose to serve the Iksar as slaves. Venril also created the Sokakar by taking the froglocks of Kunark and magically melding them with dragons. There he created a race of flying mounts for the Iksar to bring the battle to the dragons in the sky. The war between the dragons and the Iksar rages across Kunark and in the sky above it for over 50 years, but Venril falls victim to his own hands, as he is thought to be destroyed in his own experimental ritual gone bad in his laboratory of Korsha. The third son of Venril, and a general to his father, was Ganak Sathir, who quickly assassinates his brothers and assumes the throne as the Emperor of Sebilis. Now, it is Ganak who, in a final battle with the Ring of Scale to end the Great Iksar Dragon War, eventually clashes with Jalad above the Field of Scale. Both Jalad and Emperor Ganak are killed in the battle, and the war between the Iksar and the dragons ends inconclusively. The dragons lay waste to the Iksar cities in an act of revenge for their fallen leader, Jaladar, and they kill the new short-lived emperor, Venril Sathir, son of Emperor Ganek, and all the eggs and offspring, officially ending the Sathir line and the Sebilisian Empire. The dragons retreat and rebuild across Kunark with Faradar, daughter of Jaladar, as their leader. The Field of Scale becomes the Field of Bone, where Jaladar perished. Trakanon remains banished, and the younger dragons rejoin the Ring of Scale. But eventually Trakanon obtains his freedom after his 600-year sentence is up, and blissfully descends on old Iksar cities, vowing to destroy the Iksar, and he takes up residence in the ruins of Old Sebilis to provide a check on their power. The remaining Iksar attempt to maintain a unification of the 5 tribes, but soon the squabbling of nobles and indirect meddling by the Ring of Scale turns Iksar upon Iksar, and the tribal society returns. But what happened to Venril Sathir? Remember, his amulet was whisked away by the ritual priest known as the Arisen, and it was hidden in Charasis for years. His son Ryle was killed in the squall that destroyed the Sebilisian navy, but Ryle's remains almost have their own epic tale. Ryle's corpse, after being salvaged in the fleet wreckage, is sold to a goblin king. The goblins are then attacked and conquered by giants, who are then killed by the Sarnak. The Sarnak eventually sell Ryle's bones to an Iksar trader, who sells the bones back to the descendants of the cult of the Arisen. The Arisen take the bones of Venril Sathir and hope that combining the body of the son with the soul of the father, they can bring back Venril Sathir. The cult searches the ruins of Howling Stones for 50 years before they find the amulet containing Venril Sathir's soul. But without knowledge of lichdom, they're unable to complete the ritual. Having failed, Ryle's bones and the amulet are left abandoned by the Arisen in Charasis. But the Sarnak, who have come to realize they're quite good at dark arts, begin to flourish as the Dizok Empire grows on Kunark. Eventually, they journey into Howling Stones to loot the tombs. They find the ancient scrolls of the Arisen and unwittingly complete the ritual for Venril Sathir. After 1,600 years, the soul of Venril Sathir returns to Kunark, this time reincarnated into the body of his son. Venril Sathir then slays all of the Sarnak and establishes himself in the ruins of Karnar's castle, practicing his necromantic arts. He creates the lycanthropic Drollvargs and resurrects his wife Drusilla. This is where the players first encounter him in Karnar's castle in the Dreadlands on Kunark. And though he now resides in the recesses of a ruined Iksar castle, his lineage touches the entirety of Iksar history and was central to the lore of Kunark.
Hi, Faden. I go by Bigor. I stream EverQuest primarily. All right, make sure you guys are standing. Go ahead and pull it when you're ready. I love doing it because a lot of people I used to play with in the game, like that no longer play, I'll see them pop in my stream. Or people get busy with life and they can't play anymore, so it's kind of like they can still see the game and like see what's going on in it without actually having to like log in. Great job, guys. And then YouTube, I try to make little like raid videos of how to do things. I'm going to show you a quick way to farm the mallets if you need them. That way you don't have to buy them in the bazaar.
There's a lot of people like Bigor that just want to play and have fun. They're in a guild that far surpasses, what we can do. But they just want to have fun and goof off. If they're just coming around just to screw around, then yeah, bring them on.
Remember to use your green pots and stuff, guys. Help these casters out. There's no secrets in the game anymore. Like, it's been done, right? So I want to help everybody out to learn how to do it too, so they can have fun as well.
So his videos are actually useful. without trying to talk him up too much, because I hate doing that. But he is really a good guy. You know, he's making videos. He's always willing to help.
So we have a small man raid that meets every Tuesday. Doesn't matter what guild you're in, or whatever drama is between your guild and someone else's guild. Like, we don't care. You know, this is just a bunch of people trying to get together to raid, and we do a small man. We try to bring in 18 characters is the idea, and you know, we try to just see how much content can we push with a small raid force. And I do raid in 3 different guilds right now: Faceless, Key of Swords, and Miscreants.
In his raids, you know, he'll lead Faceless raids. I told him he's like Alexander the Great. His ability to see the battlefield, he doesn't need any instruction. He just, oh, they're lacking here. Boom, he's there.
I enjoy it because of the challenge. I like the challenge of trying to do it less people, because I think that now that these free loot servers, everybody's like so quickly very well geared that you got to find your challenge somewhere, if that makes sense. And I think that's where it is, to see how few people you can do it with. So it's Bigor33 on Twitch, and on all my links are on there as well. And you can find me on Bigor Gaming on YouTube.
I'm happy I get to shine a spotlight on some of the other EverQuest content creators and streamers. And maybe you want to be next, or perhaps you want to do a little recruiting for your guild. This could be just the place for our next spotlight segment. You can go to EverQuestShow.com for more info. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel, and I'll see you in NORAD.
We gotta be the best we can be. And though sometimes we don't want to, still we gotta chase our dreams, reach up and reach high, because we're gonna pull through and give it all we got, even though it can seem hard to catch and make it happen. But we can't start sliding, come on, and do what you gotta do to fight on. And so no matter what comes your way,